All right. Hey, welcome everyone. Well, we're stoked that you are joining us today to easing the lift of open enrollment. As you're joining, I want to remind everyone that this is going to be an interactive conversation. And our three panelists today are a really great representation of innovators, disruptors, and subject matter experts in their fields. So this is intended to be interactive. As you are attending and watching, please use the comment box below. We have one of my trusty colleagues, Darcy Shaw. She's our director of marketing. She is moderating the chat box, so she'll be chiming in with your answers. And we want you to participate so bad that we'll even bribe you. We're going to, every time you participate, we're putting your name into a hat, and we're going to be doing a drawing for some giveaways for some like self-care gift cards, those types of things. So you want to participate, get your name in the hat. But let's go ahead. We don't have a lot of time today, and I want to leave more time for our panelists to share their knowledge and wisdom. So we're going to go in alphabetical order, but I want to let them introduce themselves. So Amin, if you'll kick us off, please.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. And thank you to the Workterra team for setting this up, and to my fellow panelists for joining, and everyone in attendance. My name is Amin Magoon. I'm Nayya's VP of Product. I joined the company as the founding team member back in June of 2019. And we've been on a mission to help ease consumer burden at the intersection of their finances and their health. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. I'm based in New York City. I really enjoy all the food and drink options here in New York City, especially this time of year as the weather is just about perfect. So if any of you are in New York City and would like to talk benefits or talk insurance or health, please definitely give us a shout. But I'll pass it back to you, Jake.
Fantastic. I'll join you for a drink in New York sometime, Amin. Brandon?
Yeah, Jake, thanks for having me, and great to meet everyone on the line here. I'm Brandon Weber, CEO and co-founder of Nava Benefits, and we're a benefits brokerage oriented around the mission to bring high-quality, affordable healthcare to all Americans. You see it on my hoodie here. We're pretty serious about kind of the power of benefits brokerage to lower the cost of healthcare for the average American. We'll get into more of that later in the conversation. Amin's in New York. That's where I used to be. I'm now in Park City, Utah, in the mountains, and I love all things mountains. So skiing, mountain biking, trail running. If it's possible to do it in the mountains, I'm usually doing it. That's kind of what gives me my happy place when I'm not working on the business. So great to be here with you.
Nice. Thank you, Brandon. And Ben.
Hey, Jake, thanks a lot for including me today, and I feel humbled by this amazing panel that you've assembled, and wondering what I've actually done to deserve the invitation. So thank you for that. I am the president at Workterra. We are a Ben admin technology and outsourcing services company, and I live in the south side of Chicago, and I love spending time on the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan and Lake Huron in particular, and am excited that we're finally warming up to beach weather here in the Midwest.
Go Cubs, right, Ben? Go Cubs?
Yeah, no, not that.
No, awesome. I'm glad that you guys are all joining us today. It's going to be a pretty neat event. But so let's set the stage. All right, let's see if I can get my PowerPoint to work. We all know that HR has been burdened to do more with less for years, and especially with COVID, that has increased even more. And so recently Forbes released an article, and they had some stats about how HR was feeling. And so those of you who are just attending, like I said, if you didn't catch the beginning, we're bribing you to participate. I want to hear your answers here. What do you think? Is it A, B, or C about how HR is feeling? Or panelists, what do you guys think about the numbers here about how HR is feeling? A, B, C, or D?
I got to say, these all don't sound too good. So whichever one it is, I definitely think there's an opportunity to improve. But I think I'm going to go with my gut and say that 78% are open to new opportunities.
Wow.
I'd say B, 94% felt overwhelmed. We see that all day, every day in our role as benefits broker.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my head is as well. I think, when I think about the HR people I know, they're very dedicated, they're very committed, and A, B, and A, C, and D don't sound like them, but I think they would acknowledge to feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, indeed. Well, the banter you guys had going on about these all seem right. It's a little bit of a trick for you here.
Interesting.
It is
Good question.
all of the above. Like, things just aren't going super well for HR. So that's why we're here to help either your clients or HR themselves. And so that's getting continually more stressed, right? Open enrollment is something that is oftentimes on the brain for HR departments year round, right? Are they looking at new plans, new benefits, evaluating costs? Do they like their broker? Do they need to go through an RFP? Are they switching carriers? Right? There's a lot on the mind year round, but especially 3 to 6 months out of the year is dedicated specifically to open enrollment. But employees don't always, or maybe they do, really respond so well to that investment of time. So as we look here, you guys in the chat room, feel free to chime in. What do you guys think? Do employees often compare OE to the fun, exciting adventure of Disney World, going to the dentist, the DMV, or visiting their in-laws? There is one specific answer in this one.
I'm going to go with visiting their in-laws, because it's kind of in the, you should get something good out of it, but maybe it doesn't go quite the way you'd like it to go.
In the same boat. I'll go D too.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm between the dentist and the DMV, but I think I'm gonna go DMV.
Yeah, good call. It is the DMV. They're like, we never know which form we need. We never know where to put it. Did we bring the right thing? What do we do? And so it's just not this great feeling. And the reason that I connected with each one of you was to say, how can we change this? How can we ease the burden of open enrollment for HR as they are preparing and investing, but also how can we change the game for employees that they actually start to glean from and benefit from all the investments that is going on? And so everyone else is here to hear you all talk. And so I want to create time for that. So Aman, if you would, please.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. I've always wanted to live out my inner Steve Harvey, so this is my one opportunity. But a recent survey of 500 Americans reported this percentage of their fellow consumers feeling unconfident when selecting their health and wellness benefits. What are our guesses? So just to put things in context, 22% would be about 1 in 5 Americans, 43% would be about 2 in 5, 67% about 2 in 3, and 72% about 3 out of 4 Americans. So what are our guesses here? What do you think, Brendan?
Ooh, between B and C, I'd say C.
C.
Yeah, I'd go with that too, Aman.
Yeah, actually, that's a really great guess. So about 2 out of 3 Americans feel unconfident when selecting their health and wellness benefits. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that stat is kind of startling and why it needs to be improved here as we progress to the next slide. So when you think about benefits, and you think about insurance, they are fundamentally opportunities for us as consumers to hedge some of our health risk. Insurance ultimately is a financial instrument that creates predictability in our lives. And so if you think about all of the other complex financial decisions we make throughout the year, whether it's investing in a stock, a portfolio of stocks, or filing our taxes, we have these really great technology solutions in TurboTax and Mint.com and Robinhood that really demystify these really challenging consumer journeys around investing and filing taxes. But when you think about the profound kind of decisions we make during open enrollment, the financial decisions we're making during open enrollment, we haven't really had adequate tooling or product to help us really understand what as consumers we should enroll in. And what that ultimately creates is one of 2 states. It either creates a reality where Americans are either buying too much insurance and therefore spending hard-earned dollars towards premium for benefits they may not use, or number 2, they don't spend enough and don't purchase enough benefits and therefore open themselves up to exposure to large unexpected medical bills. And so from the very inception of Nayya's business, we knew that we wanted to be at the intersection of the consumer's finances and their health. And the single biggest opportunity we had to create a positive outcome for these Americans was to demystify the process of enrolling in benefits, and we really do that through 3 core themes. So our Choose product, which we're really proud to partner with Workterra on and distribute through their platform here in the next few months, is fundamentally an educational experience where employees are embarking on a journey whereby they're understanding a little bit more about themselves through a world of connected data that we've created. So as an employee's going through the Choose experience, will understand things like how much they've spent in out-of-pocket expenses year to date on their existing policy, right? These are important things as consumers for us to understand when enrolling in benefits. How much have I actually spent towards my deductible in my current policy? So they'll go through this journey of learning a little bit about themselves and also telling Nayya a bit about themselves. And then ultimately what we want to do is personalize a recommendation that an employee can truly internalize. And so the way we help employees internalize this recommendation is not by considering each specific benefit line item as a separate decision, but really combining all these decisions into one complete bundle. And so if you think about benefits as a financial instrument, then it makes sense to diversify all of those products and understand how a health insurance might interplay with a voluntary benefit, and how a 401k may interplay with a HSA. And so that portfolio level view, or that bundled recommendation, really allows us to personalize recommendations for the employee, which ultimately we like to do so that the employee can both protect themselves from the short-term risk of perhaps not being able to work due to an unexpected medical event, to the medium-term risk of having to manage an ongoing condition, to the long-term needs for retirement and long-term health savings. And so we're really proud to have brought our product to market, and by the end of the year serve well over 500,000 Americans. So as we progress here, but I'll pause for a second to see if any of my co-panelists have any thoughts before jumping into a quick case study.
I really like the theme of peace and confidence. Boy, that's just not, those aren't 2 things you associate a lot of times with our industry. And that's what we got to, as an industry and an ecosystem, that's what we got to deliver more of to employees as well as their employers. We talked about the HR people earlier, Jake did, and just kind of how stressed they are and overloaded. So I think that's a very admirable and laudable perspective to bring to all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the combination of our 2 softwares really stands to deliver on increased peace and confidence. When you think about the fundamental job of the Workterra platform, it's to collect a lot of the election data and make that really easy to transmit back to these insurance carriers. And if you think about the fundamental job of Nayya, it's really to be a consumer experience that's enjoyable and intuitive. And I think the combination of those 2 things can really deliver on that message of peace and confidence, Ben. But I'm going to talk a little bit now about the HR challenge that we solved for the Hill Group. So the Hill Group is a 1,500 life organization. They're actually a consulting firm made up of brokers and HR consultants based in Maryland. This organization, in fact, you would think would be comprised of folks that are very well versed in benefits. You would think they would have their PhDs in benefits almost because of their proximity to insurance as brokers. And so last year, the HR team was actually transitioning from a purely paper-based enrollment experience to a completely digital enrollment experience where they were installing a new benefits administration platform where they had to upload complex census files and ensure there was connectivity between the benefits that were being offered and the insurance carriers that were going to ultimately accept those elections. And so amidst all of this change and implementation of technology, they realized that the best way to communicate some of the benefits would be through a decision support experience that truly consumerized that employee experience. And so that's where Nayya really stepped in to offer increased functionality and represent really all of their benefits. And so by the end of their open enrollment, we managed to help identify opportunities to get employees to understand how an HSA works, how an FSA works. And so you'll see here that nearly 37% increase in participation in voluntary benefits. And as we talk about peace and confidence, the voluntary benefit is really instrumental in hedging some of that high deductible health insurance risk that's oftentimes present. We also managed to satisfy 84% of their employees who found Nayya to be a very easy and intuitive process, spending only about 11 minutes end to end before actually receiving a recommendation. So Jake, as you jump to the next slide here, I really just want to end things by saying, we're super passionate about this journey to helping employees understand the benefits they're being offered and also the benefits they should enroll in. We think there's a world beyond medical, dental, and vision and voluntary benefits that need this sort of demystification, especially as we think about offerings around digital health and these carve-out vendors that employers are working with. And so there's a lot of exciting stuff on our product roadmap that I'll be pleased to meet with any of you on to discuss, and really appreciate the time before I pass it back to Jake.
Come on, that is fantastic. I know we've got a lot of people that would love to have more conversation with you, and we can definitely follow up. So thank you for sharing that. I want to pass it on over to Brandon, and this is hilarious. So those of you online, join in. I want to see your participation in the chat.
Yeah,
Brandon.
Yeah, we decided to take Jake's Q&A format and just run with it. So write down what cat face you would make if you're going through open enrollment this year in 2022. Be honest, drop it in the chat. Which one best reflects how you feel in open enrollment? I think I'm curious, Ben, Aman, what would be your cat face?
I think mine's 3.
Sad cat? Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, well, I guess I look at it as like sad / accepting cat. Like, okay, this is something I got to do.
There's a lot of 3s coming in on the chat, by the way.
A lot of 3s. Yeah.
Just grin it and bear it.
I've got to go with 8. I think that shocked look kind of definitely embodies how I feel, or how I felt in prior years enrolling in benefits.
Yeah. Well, the good news is there's no right or wrong answer. This one is very personal. But I want to maybe flipping out of kind of meme jokes into like a real kind of hard hitting question, which I would love folks' perspective, and it kind of builds off what Aman talked about in his. And the question is this: what percentage of employees choose the wrong medical plan when they go through open enrollment? And you see the 4 answers there, 4 possible answers. I'd love folks to weigh in here. Ben, Aman, quick, rapid fire. What's your instinct tell you?
I'm going to go A because, I think 10 years ago it would have been a half or more, but I feel like there's been tools out there to make it easier. So I would hope we've lowered this number a little bit.
Yeah, I think A is definitely probably glass half full. I think I'm gonna go with 66% because think about the 67% that felt unconfident about their benefits. You might think that picking the wrong plan. So I'm gonna go with that and go with my gut.
A lot of diversity in the chat too there.
I know, I'm seeing it. Super interesting.
Oh, man.
The answer is 66%. And this comes from a deep multi-year study done by Carnegie Mellon. They looked at 25,000 different employee choices for medical insurance, and they actually evaluated the insurance plan choices they made against their actual actuarially experience in using healthcare the following year. 66% of them chose actuarially the wrong plan for their health needs. And if you hit the next slide, Jake, the real kicker here is that in doing so, that 2/3 of the population that chose the wrong plans were overpaying by an average of 42%. And so for the folks who are on the call, both whether it's brokers or HR leaders, I want to unpack this. So what I really love about what Aman hit on, which is like, it's not just a qualitative pain point here, it's a deeply quantitative pain point in that employees, when they choose the wrong plans, they have a tendency to overinsure, and they end up overpaying by 30 to 40%, which hits the pocketbook of the employer, who's generally covering 60 to 75% of the premium, as well as the employee who's coming out of their paycheck. It's a huge, to us, it's a burning platform problem when we talk about the spiraling cost of healthcare. This is a key driver for the employee. And it's something that deserves solutions like Nayya and Workterra and what we're trying to do over at Nava Benefits. I'll keep riffing, and guys, feel free to drop in, but I'll give you a little bit of context on kind of what we aimed to do at Nava, and then we'll get into some specifics. But really at Nava, what we saw was that the traditional approach to benefits and benefits brokerage was failing small and medium-sized employers. The paradigm, the tools, the approach was leaving employers with really bad results. We just talked about how the majority of employees are confused in how they choose care. Aman hit that stat. HR teams reporting being burnt out. Our stat is old because Jake's got a new one that shows 98% of HR leaders are burnt out, a bit over half. And then, of course, like just when it comes down to the numbers, SMBs are just getting absolutely hammered with rising healthcare costs. They just hit 10% last year. It was the highest increase in a decade. It's 2.5 times more than jumbo employers in terms of healthcare costs, and those are getting passed on employees. So kind of set out to tackle those problems. We look at this as a burning platform problem.
Yeah.
And Jake, if you hit the next slide, I'll pause there. Ben, did you have a comment?
I was just going to say, if you think of all the things that we've talked about on the call, the statistics and all that stuff, I would just think when you're thinking about the SMB market, it's just going to be more heightened and more acute, because to the extent that if all these negative numbers are an average, to the extent that they're any lower than that, it's going to tend to be in that larger employer world where they're more sophisticated, there's more tools, there's, all kinds of things. So, it's got to be really bad in the small business space.
Yeah, and I think that Nava has our role as a benefits advisor. The benefits advisor, turns out for SMBs, plays this role as essentially kind of head of benefits for small businesses. And what we saw was that when you go up to the very big companies like Amazon and Google and Delta Airlines, they're playing a very different ballgame when it comes to delivery and support of benefits throughout the organization. And they do 3 things fundamentally differently than the SMBs. They dramatically simplify I'll use Aman's language, the choose and use experience. The second is they're like bringing really cutting edge innovation when it comes to not only like digital health and decision support tools, but the actual kind of funding arrangements as well. And then third, they're like measuring everything, and they're driving accountability toward delivering net promoter scores or satisfaction for employees, and average PEPM spend drop over time. Looks like we might have lost Jake. I don't know if he dropped on us, but what we'll talk about in a minute and kind of where we focus is Nava's really just oriented around, hey, how do we get the innovation that is kind of stuck up in the really big Fortune 500 companies down market to SMBs? There's a huge unlock there in terms of the experience that folks have in open enrollment too. Platforms like Nayya and others are doing like really magical things when it comes to helping employees feel more confident about the decisions that they're making, but then also actually like at the bottom line, saving them money in terms of what they've selected and then how they use it. And so what we've done at Nava is we've kind of pulled all that stuff together, and we're bringing together kind of the best of tools and then the best of a actual playbook. Hey Jake, he's back. We'll let you pop over, and we can hit the last couple of slides.
Was it something we said, Jake?
It's all good. He's focused. And I think one of the big things that I observed and kind of wanted to hit on coming out of Aman's slides was that the safety net for all of this stuff, when employees are under supported through their open enrollment, ends up being the HR team. And so they end up getting this kind of like massive influx of really, really hard questions to answer. What plan should I choose? What's better if I've got a chronic condition? Hey, I'm thinking about having a kid next year. These are all things that are not only just challenging from a domain expertise standpoint, they're challenging from a HIPAA compliance standpoint too. And so that's, the HR folks on the call feeling a lot of pain. And so when it comes to kind of how we approach open enrollment, we think about we're in the midst of a paradigm shift. Like the old paradigm was you look at a spreadsheet of data that shows you things like copays and deductibles and essentially line items. It's a totally non-personalized experience where it doesn't matter kind of whether you've got a family of 3 or you're a single person who's 25, you see the same thing. and there's no outcome, there's no recommendation. So the new paradigm is one where it's personalized. The open enrollment experience for each member and their family looks different based on their actual claims experience or actual health experience or actual needs. They get to the end and there's an actual recommendation and a forecast. And that's just, it's more fun. It's a communication method that's oriented around how do you walk people through a journey. I think a lot about that TurboTax analogy too, because taxes is the most boring thing ever. And if you've ever gone through TurboTax, it actually makes it feel a little bit fun and like kind of fulfilling. You're hitting the ka-ching button every time you go through and save a little bit of money. So how might we create that experience for the employees, experience? So we deliver what we call Nava Enroll, and it really kind of pulls those things together. First off, it's tools for decision support that take a guided approach and point people toward the optimal plan decisions. We've got a number of different kind of decision support inputs there. And then there's this human element, and this would be just a really big recommendation for the employers that are on the call here, which is even still, what we have observed, no matter how much great technology we throw at that experience, there's a proportion of employees that truly just want I want to talk to a human button. And they want that kind of safety net, which I'd like to just bounce something off folks. And even actually, if you look at the analogies, the TurboTax data shows that 30% of people who go through TurboTax, before they hit the button, they use the feature that says talk to a tax expert, which is pretty amazing because TurboTax is a deeply mature product. They've really dialed in all the stuff, but a full third of the folks still just want to do that last gut check there. And so we provide that with them. And then we kind of wrap all of that in just consistent communication throughout the open enrollment period so that we can kind of catch the folks that have fallen out of the net, that are maybe feeling stuck or blocked along the way. And those three things kind of together turn into a much better experience in terms of, kind of the metrics that matter, like people feeling satisfied and supported, but then also kind of lowering costs and driving people to the appropriate plans. If you want to hit next slide, Jake, that's kind of the rest of, or the sum of the slides that we have, but I'll pause there. And then I know we've only got 4 minutes.
So, and jump off it, feel free to talk, but if you want to start putting go ahead.
Somebody's got a bad internet connection.
I think Jake's connection maybe died, and he's probably trying to flip slides, but can't.
I think what he's trying to say is if there are any questions for the chat, you guys can add them in. And
let's do that, and I'm sure I can get Jake to invite me back to his next webinar and do my presentation. But this has been some great, meaningful content, and would love for folks to be able to ask us a few questions in the remaining time we have. Darcy, do we have anything in the chat box question-wise?
Not yet, but please feel free to drop them in. And I can actually, if you want to do your quiz questions, because everyone was really enjoying those, Ben, I have a copy of the slides now. I can steal the show from.
Sure, let's pull it up while we're waiting for questions.
Oh, look, it magically happened. No, different question. Is this your question?
It is. Oh, and we went right to the answer, so that's cool. Oh man, we're just whipping through these. So, a common theme here, right? It's interesting. We all put our slides together independently, but they all hit at the same theme that all of us here that are in the benefit industry, we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of work to do to simplify things, to demystify things, to create value for employers and for employees. And it's, at Workterra, we're pleased to be part of that solution. We firmly believe that this is a technology and a people business. And so a big part of what we do is help reduce the workload that the HR and benefit admin folks have to do through our amazing client executive team, as well as our other teams. So, the name of the game is to make this industry better, and it's exciting to be on a call with two other companies really focused on that same thing.
Okay, so we had a really good meaty question come in that I think is great for all three of you panelists. if an employer on this call could make just one change this open enrollment season, what would you recommend? Just one. You have to pick your favorite change.
I'm going to be pretty biased here, but I would say implementing some sort of technology that helps employees understand the entire suite of benefits that are being offered in a personalized way. And typically a decision support platform fits that bill pretty closely. And the reason for that is, as an HR team, you really want your employees to feel like they're appreciated and they're protected and they're getting that peace and confidence they need. And truly the best way to do that is to help educate them about those amazing benefits packages that you've put together. And my personal belief is that these modern day decision support experiences like Nava is delivering, like Nayya is delivering, really help solve some of that challenge. And we've polled HR teams from across the country, and we've seen that teams are getting increasingly excited about the role that decision support plays in offering benefits to their employees. So that would be my biased but also very honest change to open enrollment.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think if there was a second one, and this is like the cheapest change to make, and it blows my mind how many employers actually don't do this yet, is actually record your open enrollment experience, whatever that experience is, and make it watchable asynchronously and offline. It's like the most basic and obvious thing, but it's amazing how many folks don't. And then they're like, cool, now we have to just essentially try to hand-to-hand combat this by like sharing out slides and whatnot. Yeah, first and foremost, invest in the tools to help your employees make the right decision. And it's a financial business case that you can make. You're going to save the company money by doing it because your employees are going to make more sound financial decisions at the selection process.
So my recommendation would be to stop button mashing. I feel like we have gotten to a point in corporate America where every year someone tries to answer this question that we got by adding yet some other dimension to their benefit communication or to their technology, or just kind of throwing things or button mashing the problem rather than taking a step back and looking at it holistically. So the one thing to do this year, stop button mashing. And then next year, or maybe even this year, if you still have time, you can start looking at things holistically and make sure you've got a program that makes sense rather than a bunch of things you're throwing against the wall to see what sticks.
Well, guys, thank you so much. I know that we're a little bit over time. I want to thank everyone for coming. Panelists, Aman, Brandon, Ben, you guys are amazing. You're amazing leaders in your field, and with the companies that Aman and Brandon that you've started and how you're changing the industry for the better is awesome. And then Ben, of course, I love working for you, and maybe I'll invite you back for another round if you're lucky. So I want to thank everyone for coming today, and thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jake. Great job.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.